Hi, glad you're here. Welcome. My name is Diane Lalomia, and today I'll be baking in my brand new oven with spelt, an ancient grain. Seasons change, and so does humidity. But how does that affect bread? Hydration is important in baking. We'll learn how water makes such a big difference in your finished loaf. Come along as I experiment with 6 different grains and their respective flours, using just hard water. I'll be baking a delicious pumpkin and honey bread made with spelt. Cleaned up the Halloween decorations? Out with the old stove after 18 years and in with the new. Six flours are introduced in my hydration experiment. Flours that were freshly milled in my NutriMill Classic grinder. I have histamine and mast cell issues which make me a zebra and why I got into milling my own grain. You'll see this zebra when recipes can be adapted. I bake some delicious blueberry muffins made with, you guessed it, freshly milled spelt flour. Hydration needs to be higher in freshly milled flour. It's amazing how different grains are all, well, different. Today our focus is on spelt flour, an ancient grain that is tolerated by many who have gluten sensitivity issues. It is not gluten-free, but the gluten is different than modern wheat. Other ancient grains in our experiment will be featured in future videos. Interesting to note the variety of color in the flour and texture. Phase 2 of the experiment include 3 more grains in my pantry. 2 modern varieties and Emmer, an ancient grain. But first, back to the blueberry muffins, the recipe, and the results. Amazing. Important to me is taste and nutrition over perfection. Just pass me the butter, please. It's been a long week waiting for my new Frigidaire Gallery gas stove. 30-inch wide with 5 burners and 15 ways to cook. I'm getting to know her, so practicing grace. But you can see I'm happy to get back to baking. And today it's with spelt, an ancient grain thought to be from Mesopotamia that naturally crossed with emmer wheat. Used for quick breads, yeast breads, cakes, cookies, biscuits, and pies, it has a sweet, nutty flavor. Red Fife is a hard red heritage wheat, a staple in our house now, great for sourdough bread. And Corazon, also known as kamut, is great for pastries, rolls, tortillas, pizza dough, and more. Now for our hydration experiment with 50 grams of flour and the respective hydration amounts of water. Cover and wait 4 hours before handling the dough. Let's take a closer look at the variation of colors in the flours and textures. Now it's time to cover the bowls and wait 4 hours. And then the fun begins. 75% hydration for the spelt. This one's the spelt flour. It's sticky. It seems really on the drier side. Yeah, see, there's kind of like a dry on the skin kind of thing going on. 75% isn't enough, really, in my opinion. It's about 80% for spelt. Ooh, that's pretty liquidy, huh? Let's see. That's coming up pretty good. It's got a lot of liquid, a lot of moisture. This is the 85%. Whoa. Oh yeah, this is really still very sticky. Little too much on the water. I think, I don't know. It's starting to kind of get better as I work it. It's not quite so bad. I think I might want to try going up that high with this. Maybe slow progression, between 80 and 85. Do it in the slow 2% increases till I get it right. That's a little bit too much, but definitely a lot better with that one than the 75%. Not too much on the fingers, really. All right, now the red fife. I'll take these out of the way. The red fife at 75%. It's pretty sticky. Look at this. Ooey gooey. But let's see if we can work it and get... It's just really, really sticky. Even after 4 hours, 75% is just... That's really sticky. I wouldn't want to work with that dough. Let's see. Obviously, 85% is probably going to be worse, I would think. It's really wet. Both of these are really, really sticky. I don't know if working with it, if it would make any difference. I wouldn't want to work with that. The 75% is pretty sticky too. You know, I'm thinking that the only reason I'm able to go up to 80% with red fife is my blend with my hard white wheat is allowing me to go up that high a hydration, because this is 75% right here, and this is just really too sticky. Alrighty, let's wipe the hands off real quick. Last but not least, okay, Corazon 75% hydration. It's pretty sticky, but the same token, it's kind of sticky, but it's hard to describe. It's kind of like sticky, but a little on the drier side. I mean, yeah, at first it's sticky, but I can tell that if I worked it, you get window pane, which is not something I got with those others. All right, let's see what the 85% is like for this. Oh, this is really wet. Really, really wet. Let's see if I can work it into something. Probably should have wet my fingers before I picked it up. Would have had a better chance of handling it. I think of between, perhaps between 75 and 85. I think it might be I'm thinking if I went 100% on this, I'd probably want to keep it around 75 the most, but if I would, it's hard to say, blend it with a hard wheat. This is almost workable. It's still a little bit sticky. But it is workable, and I think given some stretch and folds, definitely if it were blended with anything, it would definitely. But it's Okay, our experiment is over. Did you have fun? A little bit of sticky dough on us. Alright, we gotta clean up now. I decided to test 3 more flours while I waited for my new stove to be delivered. 2 modern wheat varieties and emmer, another ancient grain. You can even see a difference between the hard and soft white wheats. Hard white is what I usually use along with many of the ancient grains for baking breads due to the stronger gluten structure in hard white. Emmer is new for me, but not for the rest of the world. Next to einkorn, emmer is the next oldest wheat variety. Soft white wheat is great for pie crust, pastries, and cookies where you want that velvety texture, but it's too weak in gluten structure for yeast breads. Again, the mix of flour and water were covered and left for 4 hours. The hard white wheat on the left can take a lot of water, and it's good blend with ancient grains. It provides the gluten structure at higher hydration, hence a lighter loaf of bread. After 18 years, my old stove had battle scars on her sides. The new stove fits perfectly and looks great. It even has a progress bar for the preheat and shows the temperature of the oven. How cool is that? My very first bake, using the convection bake setting at 375 instead of 400. And I waited and I watched. It's the only time I think I've been excited to see muffin tops. I was like a kid watching the fan, like a grown-up with an easy bake oven. It was really hard to wait for them to cool. The bake was perfect. The crumb was delicate and moist. The recipe was blueberry muffins from Sue Becker's book, The Essential Home Ground Flour Book. Now for some pumpkin, spelt, and honey quick bread. Zebra's note: pumpkin pie spice recipe includes suggestions for alternatives. I followed the recipe accordingly, with the exception of a double yolk in one of my 4 eggs. So I had 5 egg yolks in mine. I think my glass pans may have cooked it a little more than it should have on the edges. But the loaf turned out absolutely delicious. A fall treat, and the white chocolates are mine. My Thanksgiving cactus is beginning to bloom, and my final bake with spelt, it wasn't as successful. Following a recipe with a few exceptions from Elaine Body's book, Whole Grain Sourdough at Home, on page 88. You see, I didn't sift my freshly milled spelt flour. Her flour was. And my almond flour, I thought it was sifted, but it wasn't. It made for a lot of bran. I subbed dried cranberries for the raisins. Well, my cranberries were soaked in apple juice. They were soft, but anyway, the morning after the long ferment, I peeked, and she was doing good. I popped her in the cube pan about the size of my coffee mug. An extra 20 minutes to reach the 200 internal temp. I had added extra water for the bran, but it wasn't enough. It came out dry. Another lesson was learned when trying my steam bake function on my new stove. Note to self, use distilled water. My hard water left calcium deposits on the bottom of the oven. A little baking soda and white vinegar did the trick, though, once it was cool enough. I anticipated the oven door to be all steamed up when I tried to watch my bake, but I wasn't expecting the griddle to get steamed up. All in all, I'm loving my new stove as we continue to get acquainted. And now for some great info on spelt. Until next time, may all your bakes be blessed. Thanks for watching.